Now, what we typically do in this stage is this is where we're actually having a little bit of fun. So we actually will help you create a family team flag and a name, and we'll help you create family rules and family values. But you can see this is where most parenting programs will skip to, is create the rules, create the boundaries, create all of these things, these plans that kids have to follow, but they didn't have any say-so in it. They weren't a part of the development of it. They don't have the trust, they don't have the safety. And so when you're here, by the time you're at this stage, you can actually start creating rules, expectations, things like that, because you know more about each other. And so the next piece is this understanding piece. It's really important at family success, in the family success plan and at this stage, that you start to expand your horizon of what you understand about each other. So this is where you're starting to understand that everyone has their unique likes and dislikes. Everyone has their unique sensory preferences. Everyone has their unique triggers, their unique things that calm them, their unique interest, their unique, there's so much unique about each individual in the family. And you heard my story where Flora was able to say, Elijah doesn't like loud noises and he gets overwhelmed and there's lots of people. That's happening in this stage right here. She is understanding each member of the family, not just herself, right? It's not just about self-awareness, it's about awareness of others in the family. And I'll tell you, you might be thinking like, well, my kid is autistic and, I've been told that they'll never have empathy. And I'll tell you that just the other day, my daughter actually had found out that she wasn't going to be able to go to a concert that she's been waiting to go to since before the pandemic. And she found out that she wasn't going to be able to go. And she got home from school, and my oldest son, my 16-year-old, who's autistic, who struggles to recognize other people's feelings and emotions, went to her, and the first thing he said to her is, Flora, I'm so sorry. That must be so sad that you don't get to go. And it's because he understands her. We understand each other. And I'll tell you, he knew to stay away from her the rest of the evening, because if she cried, if she yelled, if she got upset, he knew it wasn't about him. He'll even say to me right now, sometimes he'll go, Mom, I know you're not mad at me. You're just having a bad day. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've taught you too much, right? So, but it's pretty lovely to get to that stage, right? So the last piece here is empowerment. So this is where you're starting to skill build out of the moment. Once you've identified what are each person's likes and dislikes and struggles and superpowers, you can start to really say, okay, I can see that we don't have executive functioning skills. We don't have communication skills. We don't have self-regulation skills. You struggle with impulse control. You struggle with even recognizing that you're hot or cold, right? Things like that. So you can start to skill build and build self-esteem, self-awareness, self-advocacy out of the moment, and start to create those rules and systems that actually get your family working. Do you see how most of the programs are skipping to this? Am I like, out of the things that you guys have seen out there in the world, are you guys seeing how this is where most people skip to, and they assume that you've done all these others, right? But you have to build this other stuff up first, and then this is going to be like a walk in the park. But if you try to do this first, that's why you may have been coming up against like a brick wall, okay? So we're going to go through we've got some examples of family success plans. So if we can share those. I love these. Oh my gosh, these make my heart smile. So the team did all these, and I just don't get to see them until it's time. And okay. Look at that. Look at that, so cool. I'm just going to look at them for a second. Oh my goodness, I just love it. All right, so Carol has created a bedtime routine, and that means her kids go to bed and get up happy. And you can see like some of them carry their routines all around the house. Like this is how, it's so funny when I like see pictures of a Calm the Chaos house. Like they're just like covered in like these different things. But the difference, because I've seen other families that look like this, and the difference is that it was done by the parents. It was done by the teachers. But this is done with the family together, right? Yeah, I love it. I love it. Yes. And please, like my little comment about autism and empathy, I don't believe that that's true. I'm saying that's things that were told to me and it's actually why he got a diagnosis late in life, is he can't possibly be autistic. He doesn't, he recognizes emotions. And I'm like, okay, all right. That's a talk for another day. We're not going to go down that path. All right. So we're going to keep going with our plans here. All right. So the next thing is advocacy. So for advocacy stage, this is where you're getting others on board. So I'm going to go through these kind of fast, but this is where you're starting to go back to that. I'm going to find proof, right? Fact finder Freddy. I'm trying to find proof that there are small glimmers of hope that this is actually going to work. I need to find something, because if I believe that the other person is just like the devil and is never going to help, well, all I'm going to find is proof that the other person is the devil and never going to help, right? So I've got to start looking for proof that this can actually work. And then for connection, what I actually have to do is I have to connect with the people that I want to advocate to. Because if I don't have a good connection with them, if I don't start paying attention to what is actually working, what they're actually doing well, what their good intentions are, if I don't start paying attention to that, it's going to be really hard for them to trust me when I come to them and look for some support and I look for some aid from them. Now, the next thing is understanding is about addressing concerns at this stage. This is about hearing everyone's concerns. This isn't about coddling. This isn't about like bending. This is about really listening and hearing. And this can take a while to hear everyone's concerns, so that you can come up with a plan that actually works for everyone. A plan that actually works for everyone. You're going to hear from Jen McLeish later this week. I believe she's coming to Member Takeover Day. And she'll share how she created an advocacy plan, but more than what she created, her daughter created an advocacy plan for school that she takes to school, and she's able to do all of these steps with her teachers. It's pretty phenomenal. I'd love to share some examples of some advocacy plans. We've had some amazing ones. So we've got...
Slide?
Yep. All right, so here's a couple here. So we've got some advocacy plans. Again, they all look different. And Natasha used one to get her son the accommodations he needed at school. Dina used it to advocate with their mother-in-law. Like I said, Jen McLeish used it to get supports for her daughter at school. So those are some of the things that happened with the advocacy plan. And I see some questions about, please explain some of these things. We're actually going to break down a couple of these pieces here in just a minute. All right, so the next thing is Conquer and Thrive. And so for Conquer and Thrive, this is the plan that you use so that you can create a life you love. And so in this stage, this is where you actually have to finally enroll in yourself. Now, far more valuable if you can enroll in yourself and ride the storm. But I know how hard it is to enroll in yourself, believe in yourself, get rid of self-doubt, and say, you know what? I'm pretty amazing, right? And I am worthy of time and energy in myself. I am worthy in investing in myself, right? Those are things that take a little longer to develop. And so we've got that over in Conquer and Thrive. But heck, if you can do that here and ride the storm, that is going to get you really far. So connect. This is where you're connecting with your big why. And our big why is made up of our values, our non-negotiables. They're made up of like our one big like wild wish in life. So that's our big why, the thing that pulls us forward. And we're looking at that not just with our family, but for ourselves and our dreams. And then for understand, this is where you're starting to really understand yourself. So what I mean by that is you're starting to look at what is your skill set? What do you like? What are you interested in? What are things that light you up? What are things that you're passionate about? What are things that you have to offer that come so naturally to you, like taking care of other people, that other people would love to have that same skill? This is where you're really getting to know yourself. And then finally, in empowerment, this is where you're designing what we consider a fluid schedule, one that has time for the areas of your life that are most important to you. So this is where you're looking at the different buckets of you, yourself, your family, and your dreams, your family, and you're really looking at all the aspects and making time for that in your life. So if you can just go ahead and share a couple examples of some Conquer and Thrive plans. So here's a couple of our different Calm the Chaos, some of our different members finding their spark and creating their plan. We've got Gullah Cully, who has now found her spark, lights her up, is balancing her family with her dream job. We've got Amanda Warren, who went from hiding in her pantry to starting a family business that sells jewelry that memorializes child loss. I see Jenny's pottery here. She's creating pottery. I think we've got some poetry being done over here, some paintings. And so we've gotten these members who are now reaching out and expanding beyond just their family, which is really, really beautiful. All right, so let's go ahead and look at, we've got a couple more frameworks in action that I'd love you to see what this looks like when people have layered this on top of each other. So the first person I want to share is Rebecca. Now, Rebecca was one of our amazing Next Step members, but there's something else really unique about Rebecca, and that's that she is a professional, but she needed help in her own family, and she needed something that was super easy to remember in the moment and something that was super easy to teach her family, because she had a traumatic brain injury and it was really hard for her to remember all the things she had learned as a professional and teach them to her spouse. And she was suddenly losing her patience, losing her cool, and so she needed some help. So she actually joined our program because of that. So when I want to show you what happened with Rebecca, do we have a video of Rebecca?
Yes.
Okay. So I want to share, what happened with Rebecca when she was able to apply these plans to her life.
Hi everyone, my name is Rebecca Wallace-Roy, and I am a CTC alumni as well as a Next Stepper, and I was a community ambassador last year, but I've had to step down due to family obligations. But I just wanted to share with you why CTC has had such a significant impact on my life, both professionally as well as personally. So professionally, I'm a psychotherapist and registered social worker who works with families and teaches mindful parenting. And I've been doing this work for quite some time, and I work with little people who are young as 3 years old to adults who are as old as 98. She had a birthday recently. So I use the framework in almost every single thing that I do. We talk about behavior as communication. We talk about our wins and tweaks. We do a gratitude practice. We talk about the journal of overwhelm. We do our notice, I feels, I wonders, our wants, wishes, and have-tos. We bring this framework into so much of my practice, and I have found it to be incredibly rewarding as a clinician, because all of the tools are there, and they're just at the tips of my fingers, and I'm able to pull them out, adapt and change, and make them my own in some way so that I can communicate them to my clients in a way that has meaning and authenticity. I've also referred many of my clients to Lemon Lime Adventures, and I can see probably a few of them are watching this video now. So professionally, I've used this and I've loved it. Personally, I had a skateboard fall on my face in June 8th, 2018, and I ended up with Post-Concussive Syndrome. So my parenting game completely shifted from someone who blew up occasionally because I'm human to someone whose fuse became really short, and I was flipping my lid all the time. My partner called me out and said, we need some help, and we actually did it together. So we did CTC together last fall, and I have to say, it was magic. It was magic being able to work with him and learn the same language so that we could really come together and be captains of the same ship. Our partnership grew stronger, our parenting game grew stronger, and have we totally kept it up? No, because there's a pandemic and things have totally come and flown, and my concussion really knocks me out sometimes. But that's okay, Because I know that as a next stepper, I have all of these tools available to me. And I also have a team of women and men who will hold me accountable and who I can just be myself with and be vulnerable and be fallible and say, guys, I'm not doing okay. I need some help. And this community has held me, and they've been able to really support me through a lot of that. And I love this. So CTC has been an incredible resource professionally. I would say that parenting is no longer our main focus. It's actually thriving and living. And I just want to say thank you for that. So I'm a CTC lifer for all, because I use these tools and everything is shifting and growing, and it's been great. So thanks, CTC. I look forward to everyone else who joins us on this journey.
I love hearing Rebecca's story, and I love how she's like, I use it for everything. We told you day one that people use it for their dogs and their cats and for their spouses. And so, you know, it's funny because I saw someone in the group who joined this program or joined this workshop, and, you know, I was checking in on everybody this morning and saying, oh, have you started the series? And she goes, no, I don't think it's for me. I got a 12-year-old. My family's in harmony. I really wanted something for myself. And I just want to go, it can be used for you. Like, if all you do is use this program to understand yourself better, to get a better understanding of your time, your energy, to get a better understanding of what you're meant to do in this world, and how to get your family not just to be in harmony, but to run smoothly, and to then share that with others in the world, like, isn't that worth it? So it kind of lights me up and gets me all riled up when I hear people say, but my family's okay. I'm like, okay, your family might be okay, but I can still help, right? Like, we can still help you. And Rebecca's story kind of really reminds me of that. And so now here's the thing is, I've shown you the whole roadmap. You guys have given me some great feedback. You have said that this has been really helpful to see where you currently are, where you want to be, and then the steps in between. So that is amazing. I'm so glad we were able to share that with you. Now, obviously, there is a lot more detail here than we can cover in just our 7 days. But what we did want you to really see is how each plan is building on the one before. Each one is building the skill level at the stage that you're currently at, right? Now, we have shown you an in the moment stage, and we kind of walked you through what to do in the moment. But many of you have been saying, okay, I get the in the moment. I love that you walked me through the thought swaps, and can you bring me back to the doodle? That you took me through the thought swaps and how to get closer and how to use the funnel and what to say and do in the moment. But ooh, what's that? I want to know about ahead of the moment. I want to get ahead of the struggles. And so you want to know how to like diffuse it, not just when it happens, but how to get ahead of it. And so we thought we might actually walk you through an ahead of the moment plan, but that takes us a little deeper into the training today than we had scheduled time for. So I need your permission here to go a little deeper and share with you the 4 steps of an ahead of the moment plan. Do I have your permission to do that? I'm getting some yeses. Please. Gotta go a little deeper. Need to see this in action. I totally get you. All right. Okay. Awesome. Many of you guys are saying yes. Okay, I love it. Tara says, quiet time has started. Mommy's full attention is on Dana. Yes, plugged in, Tara. I love it. Okay, told you we're going to be besties here by the time this is all over. All right, so ahead of the moment. Ahead of the moment is made up of 4 steps. I'm just going to review those real fast, and then we'll go in a little deeper. So the first step, right here, so we're going to cover up all that and not pay attention to that. I don't have any papers so that you can kind of zoom in to just this. But the first thing is for you, you're going to focus on the biggest chaos causer. For connection, you're focusing on positive interactions out of the moment. For understand, you're doing something we call a behavior spiral. And then for empower, you're doing problem solving huddles. Okay, so that's kind of big level, high level what we're doing. So we actually yesterday, we did choose your biggest chaos causer. Now, in our full program, we actually have you categorize all your struggles into 3 categories. You know what I think I'm going to do? I don't have a doodle pre-drawn for this, but I think I'm going to go ahead and doodle that out. You guys, is that going to be helpful? I feel like that's really going to be helpful if I do that. All right, I'm getting some, I just got to make sure I got the right markers now because I put them away. So you guys are going to get to see the doodles in action now. Yep, this happens every time. Third one's a charm. There we go. It doesn't happen every time. It happens a lot of the time. See that always and never swap right there. Ah. All right, I can't walk or draw a straight line. So that is true. Okay, so we're going to do the U piece. Okay. And what we're doing here is you would brainstorm all your struggles that you're having, right? So you're just gonna go ahead and get them all out of your head so they're not stuck in your head, because when they stay in your head, they're going to be incredibly overwhelming. And what we do then is we give you 3 buckets to put them in. We say, let's divide these up into dangerous, lowers quality of life, and annoying. Yes, there are some things that are bothering you that are just annoying. They aren't that important yet, right? Now, when you get to the point where your biggest chaos causers are only annoying, you are much further down your journey than you think you are, right? But when you're dealing with dangerous ones, most people start out here. Now, what I would say is that most of the people that think that their family is good enough, you're dealing with a lot of Q ones, a lot of quality of life. Maybe your kids don't want to clean up after themselves. Maybe your kids don't, maybe you have to repeat yourself multiple times. So you're brainstorming all of this, and then you're sorting it, and you're finding just one thing to focus on, okay? So what you're gonna do is you're gonna place all those in here, and out is gonna come one focus. Does that make sense? So you've got your number 1 chaos causer. You guys see how that works? All right. So now the next piece is our connection piece. Now for our connection piece, this is where we're building positive interactions out of the moment. And yesterday we talked about in the moment that you want to build what's called moments of safety. And in this, what we're doing is we're taking this concept out of the moment and starting to build up those positive interactions. So we mentioned it a little bit yesterday that there's this amazing science that shows that you need 5 positive interactions to every 1 negative interaction to have a healthy relationship, right? Now, it doesn't mean that you're going to give 5 high fives or 5 false praises for every time that you tell your kid that they did something wrong. It's more about noticing and increasing what we call wins. And they're super small wins. Things like when they went to look for a toy on their own, or when they helped their brother up a steep hill, or when they, even if they did have a big meltdown, but they came to you afterwards and sat in your lap and said, "I love you, Mom." Right? The truth is that our brain is hardwired to focus on things that keep us safe, and things that are negative are going to remind us to stay away from them. So we're seeing those things, right? It's for a good reason, right? If we fall into a patch of poison ivy, you want your brain to remember, hey, remember that shape next time. Don't step into those leaves again. But the problem is that in this day and age, we don't actually need our brains to be that good at finding all the negative things, right? We can actually do a much better job of choosing what we want to focus on because we have evolved. Yay us, right? And so keeping something like a positive interaction journal can be incredibly powerful, because you're going to start to notice more and more of those positives when that's what you're focused on. We used to tell this story of when we got a van. right? We started seeing vans all over the city. When we want a red car, we start looking at red cars all over the city. How many of you guys have noticed that? Once you notice something, you start noticing all the people who have that same thing. It starts becoming more in your awareness. And so what you can do here, now our students love to do, so I'm just going to put wins. This is your positive interaction journal. Some of our students use these little Post-it notes, and they have a wins wall. And they've taught the family to add to the wins wall when they notice something working. We have other people that do a jar, and they'll put their wins in a jar. Now, this is not for rewards, okay? I don't want you to hear that we're adding marbles to a jar, and when we get to a certain amount, we're all gonna have a pizza party. That's not what this is, okay? All right. So instead, you're collecting wins. We actually have someone who's done an entire scroll. They started this, I don't even know how I think they just taped the paper together, but they have this scroll and they've collected every win they've had since they've been in the program, and they have over 11 meters of wins from when they've been in the program. So anytime they're having a bad day, all they have to do is go back and look at all those wins, and it reminds them that, oh yeah, I can definitely lean into this and remember that we are making progress and we are having success and we are building connection. Oh, my brother does love me, right? So you are building those positive interactions out of the moment. And yes, there is science that backs this. I see some things in the comments as well, right? So we move on to step 3. Now, this is the understanding piece. Now, for the understanding piece, what you're going to focus on here is in the moment, during an in the moment plan, we talked about how to use the behavior funnel, right? How to kind of sift out the most likely cause for behavior. But this is where a lot of programs might stop, or they might have you assume. But one thing we know, right, is that a lot of times, if you know anything about like behavior science, is they'll tell you, you look at what happened before, what happened after, and that's going to help you determine what's really going on, right? But if you've ever had a bad day, you know that it didn't start with the bad incident, right? Like you blew up. That's not the thing that made you snap. There was all this stuff that built up to that moment to get you there, right? You know that there were lots of little things, like the coffee ran out, the washing machine went, or the wash in the laundry went moldy before you were able to switch it over. The kids spilled their milk all over the dog and all over the floor, and now they're rolling on the carpet together. You're late to work and your kid's refusing to wear their coat, and then finally you just snap. You see how that's all kind of boiling and adding up, right? Now, you might have been able to handle the coat refusal if some of the other things hadn't happened. Well, it's the same for your kid. And matter of fact, I'm just going to share a quick little story here, is that this came from when I was really young. My dad would take us to McDonald's when it was his weekend with me and my brother. He'd take us to McDonald's, and he would give us a quarter, and he would say, you get one, go play, have fun, right? It was in those like days where parents just said, go outside, don't come back till bedtime, right? So he'd give us each one quarter, and he would expect us to go play for an hour with one quarter. And so we would go over to those big wishing wells, and my brother and I, we created this game. And the game was that we would put the coin in the wishing well and see who could get it closest to the bottom without it falling in. Because if it fell in, game's over, fun's over. But if we caught it at the top, well, you lose, you stink, I'm better, ha, right? Like that's what brothers and sisters were doing back then. And so we would play this game over and over again. And I noticed something really interesting is that if you tried to catch it too late, you actually pushed it into the hole, right? If you caught it too soon, well, then it wasn't really very much fun, and it didn't really, you didn't get very far. When I started to discover with my son's behaviors, when they were telling me they came out of nowhere, I knew there had to be something else building up. And so what I did is I started to actually just get really curious and ask him about all sorts of questions. And so as I started getting more information from him, I realized that what the teachers were seeing, what everyone else was seeing, was the epicenter, was that black hole where the coin went into the bucket. But What they weren't seeing is all the things that were building up, and they were only making assumptions based on what happened right before and what happened after. And so this